online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Are here for another spotlight on AfterBuzz TV. So join us on AfterBuzzTV.com and check us out. So I'm your girl Madison Chase, your trainer to the stars and the star in you, and I'm also a voice of virginity. And today we're talking to one of the most incredible, beautiful inside and out. I'm not going to tell you her name. I'm going to describe a whole lot of great things that she does. She is a philanthropist. She's an author. She's a writer. She's a producer. She is a fashionista. She is a mother, and she is a businesswoman, you guys. So who am I talking about? I am talking about the incredible, beautiful, talented Daphne Wiggins. Wow. I call her Sunshine.
That's a big introduction. I was like, who? Wait a minute. Is there someone else on the show?
Who are you talking about? You.
Who else is all those things?
That's you. And you're so modest, too. She's so...
I'm not. I'm just like...
She is. Yeah.
I don't know if I would say all those things, but I guess if you add them up, that's what it is.
That's what it is. And I know for you the most important thing is being a mother and co-parenting with Keenen Ivory Wayans, which I think is so incredible. When I heard your story, and then I realized how close you guys live and how you co-parent successfully. So let's talk about that first, because I feel like that's the crux of who you are.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the most fun thing that I do. Okay. Is being a mother to those guys. That's the most fun part of my life. It brings me the most joy and pleasure. And the piece with Keenen, co-parenting, that's a really fun piece too. It's definitely had its roller coasters like any other long relationship. Right. But in the end, truth prevails.
The truth definitely prevails. And I think watching you, because I've been to your house a couple of times, and I watch you do some incredible things. Like you're like the Martha Stewart / B. Smith / Karen. Yes, Anastasia. Like you do everything at home. Like you're like the homemaker. The Nopra. I like that. That's
Dopra. Actually, I'm gonna start calling myself Dopra.
Like you're the dope Oprah.
Dopra.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So you are like all things that all women wish that they could be.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of women, they want to be beautiful, but they also feel like they have to pay a lot of money. So I think with so many kids, you're like, okay, I got to figure this out. And you, like, I came to your house one time and you did my lashes. And
we definitely have spa night. It's too many women in our house to not. We have spa day. You know that. We do spa all the waxing, hair, lashes, whatever we need to get done.
And cooking. Like you are a whiz. Like I know we talked a lot about like nutrition, and so let's talk about that, because I think Keenen is like really health conscious when it comes to like the macrobiotic diet, and that's such a huge thing when it comes to like really taking care of yourself and really taking care of your family. So how did you start on that journey of like cooking healthy and understanding what it means to eat well?
Well, I think no one ever asked me about that, and that's one of my favorite things to ever talk about. But I guess the journey for me kind of began when I was a kid, and I would look at food magazines, and no slight at all to my family because they were working with what they had, but I would go, mine too. Wait a minute. My food don't look like that picture. It didn't look like that on the box. And I was like, I want something a little more closer
to the
picture. Right. And I started making things that were just beautiful. I just taught myself how to make the things. I didn't want to be limited to what was served to me. And I just rolled my sleeves up. I remember just working with a light bulb in my Easy Bake Oven and trying to master that beautiful three-layer cake on the box with a light bulb. And from there, by the time I was like 11, I had an idea that there was a connection between your food and your health and your well-beingness. I don't know how I knew.
Daphne, you knew that at 11?
Wow.
Impressive.
And your well-beingness. And that thing never left. That interest in that never left. And Keena and I sort of developed that together, and we didn't give our children any medicine. Many of them were born at home.
I was going to say, let's definitely talk about that.
Yeah, they were born at home, and they didn't have, some of them have never been to a doctor even, and so I knew food was my resource for wellness. And I've tried all the diets, I've read all the books, and I can see where, many of them are correct. And I can see where they all merge as well, and it's a big part of our life. So the challenge for me was how to keep my family healthy, feed them good food, and what good meant. Good changes.
Yes, that's so true.
Yes, good changes. Good changes with fads and styles and your well-beingness and what's happening with your body. And I had to keep reinventing what good was, and especially with the limitations, when there were limitations, like one with the allergies, and feeding such a big family, had one could eat all of these things, and then the other couldn't eat any of those things. And so how do I minimize the work for that? So I became like a master at creating beauty with a limited resource of food. So.
And I love how you have like rules in your kitchen. Like there's a certain mark that people can't go past.
Yes.
So what did that come from? Yeah, it's the blue line.
So in my kitchen I have a taped off area, kind of roped off area, and everyone knows it as the blue line around the U. And the U goes from the kitchen, the stove, the sink, the kitchen, and I bounce in that area. And for me, it's very much like an artist in their studio between their palette and their canvas. And if you stepped in between that, you'd cut the flow of the creation, right? And I think I originally did it because my children were young and it was just dangerous in that area, and because I'd lose myself in the cooking and creation, that I didn't want any of them to ever be in danger. So I just taped off an area. And now it's really for guests that come over, because the children are very compliant with that rule in particular, because when someone comes into the space, I just sit down and leave, or I put them to work. I'm like, oh, you're here. Okay, good. Here's the trash. But none of the fun work of cooking. None of the like actual cooking. It's all the like dishes, trash, sweep, all the grunt work. So it's my children who are like, no, don't go over there, we won't get food. But as long as you comply with the boundaries, then I'm very happy. It's a very lovely and enjoyable space for me. So I'll cook nonstop,
Of course.
You've been the beneficiary of them very often.
Many times. Now, speaking of artistry in the kitchen, you also have a fashion background. So when you're talking about art and expressing that, I didn't know you went to FIDM, or Fashion Institute of Merchandising and Design and Merchandising. So tell us about that, because I always see you like you're such a creative person. That's interesting that you compare the kitchen to kind of have you adorn yourself, and like even like everything about you is artwork, like your piercings, like your like it's all artwork. Even like your earrings. I remember training with you at Equinox, and you had these interesting earrings. So it's all like artwork to you,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I just I really have any particular style. I just go with what I like. And that is the thread of consistency. I can't really do fads, and I can't really, I just go with what I like. And in terms of fashion, it's just another medium. It's just another artistic medium. So that is something I've always been interested in, whether if it's music or visual arts or painting or whatever the arts. It's like that realm is where I live. Yeah. So everything gets translated as an artistic expression, and the fashion thing just started to come up again in my universe, where I was being asked to be involved in some fashion projects. Yeah. And really like how you present yourself. I really enjoy when I see someone and they're just fun to look at. And I always say to someone, I'm sorry, it looks like I'm staring, but you're fun to look at. It's like happy, it's fun for my eyes. It's like a party for my eyes. So I want to give another person that experience too, if we can have that together, while still being myself, right?
Yes, I love it. So let's talk about your online boutique and the partnership with MK Collab.
Her name is Marissa Kinson.
Okay.
And that kind of came about after a year of watching this company and being involved with this company for events. I'd get clothes from Marissa. She's the designer, and she started to reformat her company. And at the same time, I was writing to women about the importance of staying at home and being with your children, and being with your husband, and the role of the woman needed to be, this like kind of what was, now looks like an antiquated idea, but is something that's very needed now and very lost, right?
Yeah,
women are
agree.
like starting to take form as men, and so I wanted to restore some of that. And I sat back and I realized, like, women are like, yeah, that sounds really cool, but I don't have a Keenan to help me with my children, or I'm a single mom, or that's not really my story, or there've been 50-something years or more of women's liberation, and we've worked hard for that, and I'm not willing to give that up. And I had to really look at that, and I was looking for a vehicle that where women could have both. You could have both of those things without having to compromise your role as a woman, and to also do something and be really proud of that, where you could be a wife and a mother, and also help bring in a little bacon too, because that feels good too.
It does.
To be able to do that. And so this my collaboration with Marissa is that we collabed on an e-boutique, and I'm right now mentoring 40 women to start their own business in this way. And that's, if anyone wants to know, it's Daphne Wayans for MarissaKinson.com. You can see all the stuff on my website anyway. It's easy.
I didn't see that. I saw the collab, but we'll have to make sure that we add that.
Yeah, so like any woman looking to, because I wanted something where you could be literally at a soccer game and on your phone, sneak away on your phone and be working at the same time and bring in, it's really amazing. And it's something that's real. Like, women aren't really going to sell Tupperware and have a Tupperware party. Those days are over. But it's literally work, and the women are doing really, really, really well. In a time when they feel like really torn between wanting to do those things and wanting to provide for their families and wanting to still be a homemaker. So this is a really beautiful collaboration. I'm really proud of it, and it so pleases me when women call me and they say, oh, this is exactly what I needed. Like, I have one woman who I'm mentoring, and she has 2 children who are handicapped.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, how am I gonna, like, I feel like I'm having to choose, like, to work and make money for this, or to be with my children full time. And now she's like, this is exactly what I asked for in my prayers. So
Oh, wow.
So
they're
really
able to work from home pretty much and work from their
in a way
smartphones.
that's very doable and easy. Very little investment on their part, because I'm really proud of it. But it doesn't take a whole lot of, the model is set up for them. So it's not like you go and you work for someone else. You work for yourself on your own terms. And you get to, but it's not by yourself. We have a tremendous amount of support to help you do it, because it can be very unconfrontable or intimidating to say to a woman, start your own business next week. Come up with $5 million worth of inventory and shipping and build a website. It's very, very difficult to even imagine for a lot of women. So this gives them the opportunity to be able to start pretty immediately.
I love it. So
and at least get your feet wet, and then take it from there.
Then see what happens. Now, speaking of like mentoring women, I know you do a lot of philanthropic endeavors. So let's talk about some of those. The Way to Happiness and Keep a Child Alive. And this is kind of like the Way to Happiness. I know that's probably totally not the same thing, but I think when you look at the general idea of who can you make happy, and making the woman who tends to be the center of most people's lives as far as a family unit is concerned. So
that's right.
Let's talk about those two.
Well, the way to happiness is just rules and guidelines and precepts for people. Like, what is the way? There are certain things that are pretty basic in any life, in any culture, in any religion, in any world that, you know, it's cause and effect. It's the Ten Commandments.
Right.
It's all the books talk about it. All the, you know, major religions and philosophies talk about what are the things you do to stay happy. The golden rule. That one is like, you know, a big one.
Treat people how you want to be treated.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We understand what that is. So it's a book of tenets that anyone that, and I should have brought you some, but anyone can just look through and see, like, what is going on? Like, what am I doing in my life? And then it, you know, once that starts to spread in the world, that changes a lot, believe it or not.
Yes.
If everyone just applied even that one that you just said, the golden rule, that changes a tremendous amount. Like, what would crime be like?
Yes.
What would, you know, any of the other ills modern society is affected by. And then Keep a Child Alive, that's Alicia's project, right? And she's like my
Alicia Keys, just in case you guys don't know. You're like, everybody knows.
Right. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's her project, and I love her, and I love anything she does. So that's something.
And
I
you
support.
love children, obviously.
Yes,
so that's like a perfect marriage.
Of course, and hers
things.
is so awesome. I remember being at one of her events, and she said, like, people were standing up and bidding for like what it would cost to keep a child alive.
Wow.
And they just stood up and they were like $1,000, $2,000, you know, whatever it is, whatever people could have. But it's like, when you think about that, the weight of like, what is the cost of keeping a child alive?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
of course.
a big. And especially when you're talking about, you know, in third world countries versus the United States.
Yeah. And also we have parts of LA that are very third world.
Say, I know someone actually, you know, she's struggling and living on the street. So I don't know that part, but I do know that there are people right here in LA who need assistance and who need
by
help.
the way, that's the other reason I started. I knew too many women with that story who were like rather homeless or heading towards homelessness with their children. So that was the other reason for the MK collab, just to go back to that. Yeah.
Now, Daphne, we've talked about a lot of things, and I want to talk about the two.
I'm scared.
No, this is good. The two important things: your children, parenting, and relationships. Because I know you do a blog for the Huffington Post. So, how did that come about, and how fulfilling is that to give back on a larger scale to people who actually read and who want the information? You know, some people want it like, you know, let me watch a video, but some people actually want to read it and keep it and take pictures and look back through it. And so I feel like you have such the knowledge that people would want to do that. So tell us about that
well,
column.
I think I just realized that if I had a bigger platform to say the things I was sitting around my kitchen table talking about, or, you know, with my girlfriends, as you know, talking about that I could, because I was repeating myself over and over, and I was like, oh, well, the Huffington Post seems big enough to say it on.
That's a big platform.
And so I just talk about what I know about. And I guess my approach is sort of reverse engineering, because that's how my mind works, that I go, okay, if you want this result, then let's wind back around to the steps that it would take to get to that. So there are certain things you would never do if you wanted a successful relationship.
Okay, let's talk about that. What are some of the things? Let's talk about the things you do that you should be doing that most people kind of glaze over. Because I feel
in a relationship,
and even friendship. Because I think before you could have, and you talked about, and we've talked about this personally while we were working out and training, that you and Keenan have such a great friendship that you guys kind of you grew up together. So I think when people look at friendships, like, we're so tied to our cell phones and we so don't touch each other because we're so busy like texting and Instagramming, and everything is so instant. So
that's right.
When it comes to like the basics of having a real quantifiable, this is my friend, friendship, what are those steps first? And then we could talk about the relationship
That's
part.
right. Well, all the relationships are friendships anyway, right? I see you and your mother have a beautiful friendship.
And you and your mom too, because I've seen you guys together.
So we have beautiful relationships with the people friendships with the people we have relationships with. So you're right. They're friendships first, and they're basically friendships. So if you stripped all the names, I always say it's like actors and actresses in a movie. They're all actors and actresses, but they're in roles. So what's the role between you and your sister? What's the role between you and your mother? It's a mother and a daughter. But it really, at this point, you guys are friends, and it speaks to the relationship you had prior to. So when I was going through my divorce, we had to like untangle all that had been built because things were changing, and it was growing in a direction that wasn't it wasn't really the growth, the structure wasn't right for the growth. So we had to untangle and reformat our family. But what was there was a friendship. That's what was always there, was a friendship. So we had to untangle and then come back to that. Like, wait, you know, it's this thing where you go, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So there was a friendship there, and you know, you saw us like merging back to that, and it took a lot of untangling, and then once you saw like, wow, in no time we got this, you know, tangled up in this kind of mess where you start being a divorcee. You sort of take on the beingness of like, we're divorced. That's not really, that's like, again, it speaks to the relationship that we had, and it speaks to all that we created, that we were married, and we created a family, and all this beauty. We created so much beauty. So it wasn't worth it to throw everything away because we stopped being husband and wife.
And now have you seen a change? I'm sure you've seen a change because, like you said, you untangled a lot of different things, but for someone that's going through a divorce and or someone that's kind of on the fence of, I don't know if this is working, or when do you know to call it quits? And when do you know, and how do you know, like, I got to start untangling this thing? Because I think a lot of people think, because I didn't realize, you know, when you lose someone, you know, when someone dies and you go through grieving counseling, I didn't realize that when I called to check to see what that process was, that also people who are divorced can go through that same kind of grieving kind of process because you're grieving the loss of a loved one. In a different kind of way, because you still have to be around that person.
It is a little bit of a death. It's the death of what that thing was. And then you just rebirth. It's like anything else. And that's an important process to go through. It's like all the experience, we're living life. So it's not all happy, and that's like not a very interesting story. We never saw a movie that was just happy and happy and happy and happy and happy. There's no like, what is the arc? What is the plot? What are the twists? Where's the scary part? Where's the, you know, what is the hero's journey? So in the hero's journey, there's one point where you go, oh, you're going to lose it all, and they're going to die, and it's going to end bad. And then, you know, and then it doesn't. So it's kind of looking at that, and then when is the point to throw in the towel? I say when you've exhausted all efforts. And exhausting all efforts isn't just trying to convince someone of something else. It's like quiet and looking at everything you could have done, taking full responsibility, and I call it like pan responsibility. Like really taking responsibility for everything. That doesn't mean admitting blame or fault. It just means like, I'm going to fix this. Just like if you saw someone in an accident on the street, that doesn't mean you caused the accident, but it means that you're going to take responsibility to see to it that it ends up okay. So in that, you know, you have to, I just say you exhaust efforts because you went into it with an intention to have it be one way. But, you know, sometimes it just, you don't know where you're going to grow and where you're going to go as a relationship is going. You can have your intention, but who you become, you know, those two may not always fit together. And so you, as I say, reconfigure the family and restructure, especially when you have children, and you start to merge other lives, because the divorce only speaks to the tiniest part of it, which is a husband and a wife. It doesn't speak to the children, the in-laws, the friends, the shared workers, any of it. And so, but everyone else is sitting there like, it's awkward because I don't know, I feel like I need to take a side, you know, and it's like you've merged your world. And because this one little piece is not working out, you throw it all away.
That's good, Daphne.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So speaking about relationships and writing for the Huffington Post about relationships, you've been on several reality shows, Hollywood Exes and R&B Divas LA coming up. Have you shot that already? Or
we shot that. That's going to be airing, I want to say the 28th of March.
Okay.
So
at the end of this month.
Also, don't forget Marrying the Game.
Okay. Marrying the Game. That's on VH1, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the Game and Tiffany.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about each of those, because I feel like reality shows, like I know you personally, so seeing you on a reality show is like, oh, okay. Like I couldn't even imagine it because you're so like anti.
I couldn't imagine it. Right. I'm so anti. Exactly.
Anti the drama. So, and I'm sure you probably bring a lot of who Daphne Wayans is as far as giving people advice on relationships. So,
right.
I'm sure you bring that to the table when you are on these reality shows.
Well, let me just preface this by saying I never wanted to give advice. I don't want to tell people what to do with their life.
But people ask, right?
Right, but it's just, I kind of can't help when I see something, when the problem's not so close to you, it's not like sitting on your nose, you have more perspective of what's really going on, and it doesn't seem like such a big scary thing. It's not like the world's over, but it's the same thing if you have a little bug on your fly, a little fly on your nose, or you have a tiny piece of dust in your eye. You're like, oh, it's a boulder. I think I'm going to lose my eye. I should cut half my face off. I should cut my nose off. I don't know what it is. It's so big. But then you get distance from it, and you're like, oh, okay, I feel embarrassed. That's a little thing, right? It's a little piece of lint. It's like I could barely see it.
Right.
And it's the same difference when I'm looking at someone complain and wallow in misery. I'm like, no, love, it's not really, here's some things. This is what I'm seeing sitting over here. I have distance from your problem. So, look at this. I'm just telling you, I'm sitting here and I'm observing something.
Right.
So, I want them to be able to see that for themselves and obviously solve their own problems. So I don't want to be an advice giver, but I just want to offer a perspective that I'm sitting here, and because I'm sitting in a different place, I can see that.
Yeah. And I love you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I love you. Exactly.
But I
think also, on these reality shows, I was being asked so frequently to be on them, and I just was like, no,
before you did
my
the
nose
first
up in
one.
the air, and I was like, I'm not doing it. And then I started to look at, okay, stop it. You're being asked over and over this thing consistently. It's a reach. It's something that's wanted. How can I do this? What would make it possible for me to do it? Not how I can't do this.
Right.
And I just knew that if I maintained my own integrity and stayed being myself, then there's certain things that just aren't ever going to happen for me. I'm not throwing a drink. I don't throw drinks in people's face in real life.
You're not pulling
I just don't. I'm not
leaves.
pulling. I'm not. I've never done that once before, and I don't even want to do it. I really don't. I don't even want to do it as a joke. And I'm a master prankster in my own home, but that's not funny to me, and I just don't want to engage in that part. And I hate to, I don't want to sound like I have all the answers and like a goody two-shoe, but I can look at something and have be the voice of reason in that. Because really, in the case of Jayceon and Tiffany on Marrying the Game, I love them both. I love them both, and I love them dearly. And it breaks my heart to see that happening. So I can always maintain that kind of integrity and offer that.
Yeah.
So that has been my role thus far, which is not doesn't really make me the popular girl, because I think that's not good TV. That's not entertaining TV. But I think, I'm happy to inject some of that into something.
And I think when you say entertaining, entertainment has changed so drastically from 10 years ago. When we talk about shows like Living Color and Keenen Ivory Wayans, it was comedy, it was sketch, it was funny. And now we've gone to reality shows where it's,
real life is the entertainment, right?
Real life is the entertainment. So I think it could be entertaining. It depends on who the audience is, because lots of people want to know your story.
That's true.
And there's a reason why you're on that show and those shows, because people know you and they know that you love them. So it's a different kind of advice.
Yes.
And I think people and the audience and the viewing audience will be willing to receive that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think also people I always wanted to be like a real person to them. So if they watched me go through, I had a tumult. Keenan and I went through a lot of tumult during our divorce. It was very tumultuous and heartbreaking. And like you said, I went through, it had its own death and its rebirth. And so to see me like come out and be that, there are women every day or couples every day going through that. Yep. So I want it to be a real example where someone could see like, no, I saw her like really go through that and have a hard time and struggle. And then, she came out okay. She like
she's
still
sunshine.
Alive. Yes,
Yeah. That's right. What I call Daphne, sunshine. Yes. So speaking of all of these wonderful opportunities, I feel like you're culminating that into a book. So what is the book going to be about? And then let's talk about your documentaries that you're doing too.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, good. So the book is one is on what I know most about, being a mother. And it's, again, all the questions I get asked.
Yes.
And, I'm a career mom. I've been a mother for longer than I've been on earth. I have more than 75 years under my belt if I added their age together, because I like to count every single day.
I love it.
Separately of every single one of them.
I love it.
They're individuals, and every day is its own. Every day is like 5 days. So for every 1 day that someone has, that's 5 for me. Days. Or every year someone has, that's about 1,500 days for me. So, if I added them all together, it'd be about 75, 76 years, their ages, that I've been doing this. And really, because I have to mother them all. I can't it's no one way to mother them. They're as individual as anything else. And so I kind of put all that in the book, because I found that women have, in a way, I guess I can say this, they've gotten kind of far away from it. And so they look for approval on how to do what they were born to do. They're like, how do I do it?
Yeah.
What do I do? And they're looking for even doctors to tell them, like, how do I feel?
Yeah.
They go there with like a deer in headlights, and they say, how do I feel? And how many months am I? And am I good? Am I bad? Am I what? They're just looking for that, right? And it's really, you already have everything you need to know.
Yeah.
And being a mother isn't about being perfect or having all the answers. The journey is in discovering what those are. And it's really not so one-sided, like the mother. It's like you work that out with your baby. You talk to your baby to see if you're doing a good job.
And I read this article, and I wanted to read this quote on your website. It says, "Can parents be friends? I could already see the steps that I've taken to raise my children and the care with which I've done it has resulted in a genuine friendship and a friendship of choice, not one of obligation."
I said that?
You said that.
I said that.
I love that you did that, Miss Daphne.
I said that. Wow. Okay, I like that.
That is ingenious.
I don't go back and read it. I just like right. It's
right.
All spilling from my head. But yeah. Yeah, it's again that thing where you reverse engineer, like you're friends with your mom. Your mom was probably like, let me treat her like my friend so that I don't treat her like my item or like my thing or like my I'm her my possession, and so that she'll want to be my friend later, because you don't forget the things that hurt you when you were little.
That's true.
It's just like your body's little, but your feelings are the same.
That's so true. Your body is little, but your feelings are the same.
Yeah.
And my mom is always, I think she's always trusted me, and we've always had that kind of relationship. Like, I was the very honest child. Like, if I went somewhere, I'd call her. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to be here. And like, even now we have an app called Life 360. Have you heard of the Life 360 app? It is the best app. Like, because she's in Texas, like it'll show her where I am, every location. Like, it'll show her by minute. And then when I actually move to a different area, it'll show you like the crimes that are committed in that particular area, what time.
Life 360 people.
Life 360.
I call my kids the Incredibles. Get that app now.
Yes.
Download it now. Life 360.
I love it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite apps. So yes, let's talk about
oh wait, the other book is on
okay.
on
Thank
this
you.
like return to femininity and,
Ooh, I love
and
that.
restoring that role of a woman, because women have become so independent that they're very independent.
Yeah, that's so true. Independent and overly like super uber duper sexy. And I think for you, like you're like super uber sexy.
No.
Yes, you are. It's okay, Daphne. You could claim it. But to me, I think sexy is a confidence. Sexy is your attitude. It's not necessarily the things that you wear and how
it's who you are.
It's who you are.
It's what exudes.
It's what exudes. So when I see you, you could have on sweats and your tennis shoes that
like
I normally see.
Right.
And you're super sexy. So that's the thing that comes out. So I think we've gone completely the other direction.
Oh yeah, they think it's something you put on to be sexy. Yeah. Sexy's not what you put on. Sexy is what you exude.
I totally agree.
It's who you are.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to keep us posted on your books.
I will. Yeah. I'll be back.
Yeah, please come back. So let's talk about your documentaries. Like, I see you as you're such a, like you said you're very analytical. You see the end and then you work backwards.
Yes.
I already know your documentaries are going to be incredible because that's the way your mind works.
Yeah, I just started doing. I don't know if it looks like. I don't mean to be like this Renaissance woman, but the guiding force was for me to follow my heart and do things that I felt really great and strongly about. And so one of the documentaries is about comics and comedians.
I love it.
Yes, which is my favorite thing in life.
Me too.
It's one of my favorite drugs of choice is laughter.
Laughter, yes.
If I can just laugh and laugh and laugh. I was at a Kevin Hart movie and I was laughing so hard. I was telling someone this. I was laughing more than I could get air in. And I was like in this exhilaration going, oh my God, what if I died like this? Like I wouldn't even care. I had like a moment where I couldn't get enough air in.
Right.
And just like one of those little moments where you're like, huh? Like I can't breathe.
Right.
Laughing that hard. And it was a really fun project to do. My colleagues are from the UK.
Okay.
And we interviewed almost 100 comics. And we look at like what that experience is like. Because one thing I observed being fly on the wall to so many comedians and a whole family of them is that those in that art form, you write, direct, perform, produce all of your material with immediate gratification or not.
Yeah.
And that many of them are in it just for themselves because it's a kind of their own therapy to just talk through something. It's another version of a couch to sit on and talk and it just happens to be a perspective and that it's an art form that doesn't always get its due credit as an art form, but and it has real health benefits as well, like the benefits of laughter. What is that? So we have some comics that talk about that. And all the comics they span from the UK and many from America and Australia and. I think we have some from South America or Mexico.
Yeah. So did you see a difference in, like, I think culturally, like Americans, we think we're so like, we're it, this is it, you got to be in America. Did you see a different trend in comedy when you're looking at all of those different places?
Well, they all do look to Americans. It is like largely an American art form that has, spread around. Like there's one of my favorite comics is this guy called Trevor Noah, and he's a guy that's perfectly African and European.
Oh wow!
And he like lives with his Zulu tribe family in Africa, and then he has his white Swedish family, maybe they're Swedish in Europe, and he really is perfectly both things and that dichotomy. And he grew up at the end of apartheid, so his perspective, and
interesting.
And he really admired American comics, so his style is kind of like that. He's, so it's just interesting where someone grew up and what's funny because comedy is very much cultural as well. So black comics, white comics, and that humor as well. So that one was like a fun one to go to every single day.
I'm sure because you were laughing constantly.
I mean, I'm like, is this really work? Is this work? Because I can't. My stomach hurts. My eyes are watering. And I feel like, again, like you have moments where you're in exhilaration. So I'm very proud of that and excited about that. And the other is one.
Now, what's the name of that one?
That one is, well, that one's not out yet.
It's not out yet. Okay.
Supposed to talk a lot about that one is Dying Laughing, and then the other is Catching Hell in a City of Angels.
Ooh.
And that's about the parts of LA that are not in the magazines. It's not on People magazine. It's the aspect of LA that is like a third world country. And I'm a native Angelino, so you know, it's important for me to talk about that. I grew up in these streets.
And you sort of, I grew up in these streets.
I grew up in these streets.
Miss Daphne Way, it's in these streets. Yeah, but I think that's a beautiful thing that you're exposing that environment, because I feel like there's so many people, like you said, you know, 2 young women. I know one young lady, and it's just so interesting to me because you see, I've seen her story. She's beautiful, she's talented, she's smart, she's a poet, and just to see her do like a 180 and not really. But I was like, to be a product of your environment and be in that environment for a long time, it could change anybody. The strongest person could become the weakest person. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And what's the name of that? You said
Catching Hell
in the City of Angels.
Yeah.
So when can we see that, and how can we see that?
Well, that one's being formatted for television, and my colleagues are from the UK.
Oh wow!
And that one won an award in Europe as well.
Wow, Daphne.
Yeah, so I'll let you know all of that. I'm going to post everything as always. Like I just pour all my life into my social media.
Your Instagram page.
If you stay on Instagram, Twitter, or DaphneWayans.com, you'll see it all.
And you got me started. Speaking of social media, you got me started on Instagram.
Remember, I sat you down. I was like, no, you're getting on Instagram. We're starting today.
Yes, and you were like my first
you're like,
picture.
It's going to be private. I'm like, no, it's not going to be private. You don't. Okay, fine, private.
But you're like my first picture on my Instagram page.
Right. I know.
Yes, I say
I'm
my Instagram motivator.
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of starting many people's Instagram. I'm a virginity breaker on social media. My kids are like, Mommy, stop starting all of the old people on social media. It's so
old.
annoying.
We're seasoned.
No, that's anyone over 21 in my household is old. Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
That's totally Nala's voice. Mommy, can you just stop telling all your friends to get on social media? And she just changes and goes to another one. I'm like, what are we on now? Snapchat? We're on this? Like,
Snapchat.
What else are we on?
That's a new one. I'm not really familiar with Snapchat.
Girl, please.
Okay, don't do it.
No.
Okay, I won't do it. Okay, now speaking of your kids, like I know you've raised these incredible little people, as you like to call them.
Incredibles.
Incredible. So
the incredible can be followed by other things too.
Okay.
Incredibly something.
Okay.
Yes.
So are your kids involved in entertainment, and would you kind of steer them in that direction? Because it's kind of like your family history. Like that's what they were born into, so it's only a natural progression for them to do that. So
well, they're showing signs. They actually don't know that there are other things that you can do. They're like they don't know that you could actually, having kids that haven't actually gone to the doctor ever or very much, that like that's not a real thing to them, but they're showing signs of that, and I'm not allowed to tell them what to do at all or have an opinion. I just sit back and tell them to live their life and just hold on. And I always tell them that your decisions are yours. They just break my heart. So make good ones. You have to live with them. So I don't make decisions for them. But the examples that they have are massive examples. And I don't even think they understand the size and magnitude of an Uncle Will or Uncle Eddie.
That's Will Smith. That's Eddie Murphy. I'm going to translate for you guys, just in case you don't know.
Or Auntie AK or Aunt Jada or any
Smith, you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
To them, that's just like our extended family. And they have a very nice viewpoint of the range of all the things that you can be in that industry, and love and appreciate the arts. But my son in particular,
he's gotten so tall. I saw a picture on your Instagram
I think
page.
He's the tallest of all the Wayans, of all 100 of them. So I think he's the tallest.
Said 100.
Yeah, he's the tallest. But he's the one. He's definitely a chip off the old block. He's just naturally interested since he could walk in writing, directing, producing, anything performing. I mean, if he could just do that for school, he'd be amazing.
He'd be happy.
Yep. Yeah, it makes him happy, and he loves it. So that is him. And Nala is showing signs that she's going to be in front of somebody's camera.
And
doing
she's
something.
a model too. Like, she's super like svelte in shape and curvy. Like, I don't know, that's such an oxymoron. I'm like, how do you be curvy and svelte
and in
at the
shape,
same
right?
time?
Yeah.
I don't get it, but that's Nala.
Yeah, she's doing that, and they all have. I wanted to mother children that were artists, so they're all artists in some sort of way.
Yeah.
So I love that, and that makes me happy, and it really makes it so that I could be the kind of mother I want to be to them, without having to like force something where Bella has a joke. She goes, well, I know how to piss mommy off. I'll just tell her I'm going to be an attorney or a psychiatrist or something.
That would not make you happy.
Well, I mean, listen, there are people who do that. I'm just saying who I want to be a mother to and who I can be the best mom to.
Or artists.
Yeah, so I got that.
Yeah,
I'm happy
you got
with that.
You got that with all 5. Beautiful, beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's next for Daphne Wayans? I feel like you've done everything. Like,
stop. I don't know. Every day I wake up and I'm just like, it looks like a lot of things, but when you follow your heart and you're like a seeker, you have a seeking spirit. So I have a seeking spirit, and I find things and I find wonderment in life, and I don't have enough time to do everything.
Yes, I remember.
And, I don't have enough time, right? It's hard to imagine like who doesn't have enough time. Everyone has enough time. I do and I don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I want to do so much. I want to help this one. I want to do that. I want to explore this. I want to travel. I want to. So I don't know what's next. Hopefully something with travel.
Something great in travel.
What's next is I'm going to be on here with my books.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't play.
Yes.
Witness.
And you know what? Yes.
Bear witness.
Yes, we're watching. Everybody's watching. There was a young man, speaking of artists, that you mentored, and I want you to tell that story because I thought he was so incredible. And I remember, Skylar, I remember looking at his artwork, and I'm like, you are such a mentor and a mother to so many people, and your friends too, because I know Tisha Campbell calls you, what does she call you?
Dr. Daff.
Yeah, Dr. Daphne. She calls, like, you're that person to so many people.
I know.
So let's talk about that story and that beautiful, like, he's such an artist.
Yes, that little boy, I saw somewhere along the way, I saw his picture on some social media, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this kid, I'd love to be a mother to that kid. I always am like fantasizing about other kids too and being their mothers. And I got a random call to meet with someone, and there was this painting on the wall, and it just had my attention. I didn't want to be like to stop the meeting to go, wow, that painting. I just wanted to like have my meeting. And then as the meeting wound down, I said, oh, that's a really nice painting. And the guy goes, oh, that painting? I have to tell you about this kid. And something like in my stomach just dropped. Wow. And I said, it's that kid. It's that kid, huh?
Wow.
He said, what kid? And I said, say his name. Tell me a story. And as he began to tell me, I knew it was that kid. I said, oh my God, I want to meet him. I want to meet him. And he said, no, you can meet him. He's at school today. He's like, I think at the time he was 12 or 13. And I said, this kid is amazing. He's amazing. I'd love to like mother, I'm a mother to artists. And I said, if ever his mom and dad get sick of him, just jokingly, I'll take him. And he said, well, his mom passed when he was a baby. And I was like, oh my God. And I met him, and instantly we just fell in love with each other. And I hosted his first art show. Wow. Which was really a pleasure and an honor. And he is, he's going to be something. He is something else.
Yeah, he is. He's incredible.
Sells his artwork. He follows it. He's just an awesome, awesome kid. And so I've my kids are used to me taking in other children. So he's one of my kids.
And taking in other people,
yes,
too.
Other kids, other people,
yes.
whoever needs it. You know, that's part of our deal together, really. They understand that. I mean, there are 5 of them. They very well understand that they have to share me.
And you do a good job of sharing yourself with people. So I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait to see your documentary. So on social media, I know your website is DaphneWayans.com.
Yes, I have a daughter. My youngest, you know, is Daphne Wayans too.
I love that.
And it drives me crazy because she uses up all the names. So any Daphne Wayans with weird numbers behind it, they don't mean anything, and it's not me. I don't put numbers behind my name because it might look like my age.
Right.
If it's Daphne Wayans, 69, 71, 53, that's not
little
me.
Daphne.
That's
yes.
little Daphne because she forgets her passwords.
So she'll just keep recreating them.
She's like, well, you use up all of Daphne Wayans. Can you imagine all the names in the world? And we're fighting over one name.
The same name.
Yes, so I have the monopoly on Daphne Wayans. Just Daphne Wayans. Daphne Wayans
5972. Right.
Exactly.
I love it. So DaphneWayans.com, but you're on Instagram too.
At Daphne Wayans. Twitter at Daphne Wayans. Facebook, if we must, Daphne Wayans. Sorry, Facebook. You know.
Yes.
I have to say that for the kids.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, everywhere. At Daphne Wayans.
Okay, so we're going to be looking forward to all of your projects, your documentaries, your books, your website for fashion.
Yeah, that's all on there.
Yeah.
And you can see it all. You can read my past blogs. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Who knows what I'm going to wake up and cook up in this head of mine.
Yes, I say some cooking fabulous online ordering process. That's what I say. Organic, healthy.
I think I should be in my kitchen cooking with you.
We totally could do that.
Daphne's way.
The Daphne's way.
The Daphne's way. I like the Daphne's way.
The Daphne's way. Because you have a way about you. So this is great. We just created something here on AfterBuzz TV.
There you go. You heard it first.
You heard
the Daphne's way.
So I'm your girl, Madison Chase, and this has been a pleasure talking to the beautiful, talented, incredibly smart businesswoman, Daphne Wayans. And you can find me at Madison Chase Fit.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.